If you are an estate agent, letting agent, or someone who is interested in the property market, then the weekly UK property market stats show, is for you. My name is Chris Watkin, and I'm joined by a special guest each week. This week, I'm joined by Rob Smith. We'll come to Rob in a second. What is this show all about? Well, the British are obsessed about the property market. We all are. And when such data comes out from the Land Registry, we're all on it. From the Nationwide and Halifax, we're all over it. The problem is the Land Registry is looking at sales that took place 9, 10 months ago. The Halifax are looking at sales from Nationwide 2, 3 months ago. We're looking at last week. So we're looking at house prices and what's actually happening in the property market. So it gives you, the viewer, thank you for watching this, by the way, an opportunity to find out what's happening in the property market. We're going to be looking at lots of stats and lots of graphs. This week, as I said, I'm joined by Rob Smith. Rob is a thought leader in estate agency. He works for the Property Franchise Group and has over 300 branches under his wing over a number of brands, of which Rob will tell us what they are in a second. Rob's been in the estate agency business now for over a couple of decades, possibly even 3, Rob, I would say.
More than that, yeah.
You obviously started as a child, mate.
Yeah, 10.
And what Rob doesn't know about the property market is not worth knowing. For those people who've been living in a cave, Rob, just give us a little bio, a couple of sentences of what your background is.
Yeah, background is estate agency from the age of 18. Worked for Prudential Property Services. That was a very long time ago. Then the Woolwich, then Spicer Hart, then Connell Sequence, now with the Property Franchise Group. And I sort of look after and support and help Whitegates, Hunters and Northwood.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hunters are one of the biggest estate agency chains in the UK. I think, if memory serves me well, they're at number 3, 4 or 5, somewhere around there. And then the others really do punch above their weight as well. So Rob has got the full gambit of talking to his franchisees, from the baby ones all the way up to the massive ones. So thanks for joining us today, Rob. This is not your first show. I think this is your 4th or 5th. And Rick comes back every couple of months and always gives great value. For those of you who have not watched the show before, we look at this week in isolation. And this is week 9 of 2025, which is Monday, the 3rd of March, all the way through to Sunday, the 9th of March, inclusive. The show itself is split up roughly into 2. The first half looks at the UK property market, and myself and Rob will be playing through the stats and looking at the graphs. The second half is we pick a town or a city and really deep dive into that. Now, each week it's a different town, and this week it is in Braintree, which is in North London, in the home counties. For those of you who have not watched the show before, we do a deep analysis of those agents in the town. Now, if you're not from Braintree, you might switch off from that, and that's good for you. But if you're an agent who's suffering from estate agents, competitors who are overvaluing or who are not very, very good, and you're awesome, then we're going to be using a piece of kit which enables us to really analyze how they're performing. So if you're suffering from overvaluing or cheap fees and you're a good agent and you've got the stats to back it up, we're going to show you a piece of software that actually really does show who the best agents are in a town of the many metrics. So if you're suffering from that, do watch that part of the show. We'll show you what the piece of kit is. We'll show, and both Rob and myself will deep dive and analyze the different agents in that town to show them how good or how bad they are. So without further ado, Rob, let's go and crack on and let's look at them Stadaroonies. Here we go. So you should be able to see the stats there, mate. Can you just confirm that?
Yeah, I've got those.
Beautiful, beautiful. Right, okay. So let's just come back. So we always start off with the listings, ladies and gentlemen, and this week we have put onto the market 39,805 properties for sale in the UK. The graph here, the white line, is 2025, and you can see here that the listings have jumped up from around the mid-30s to now knocking on the door of 40,000. And then you can compare that with the red line, which is 24, the yellow line, which is 23, and all the years going back to 2017. We haven't put in the COVID years because it's not in this particular graph. We do look at them in a bit. In terms of listings to date, we're on 318,000, which is 8% ahead of 2024 and 10% ahead of the more, if there is such a thing, more normal years of 17, 18 and 19. What's your thoughts on this one, Rob? Do you want the graphs back?
Well, it's a very positive picture, isn't it? That there's plenty of vendor demand. There's lots of people wanting to move. There's nothing to do with currently nothing to do with the stamp duty situation, because clearly people putting their house on the market now aren't going to be really affected by that. So positive, but also just need to be careful about what we're putting on the market, don't we? So there's lots to go at. There's lots coming on the market. We need to be probably a bit more sensible on what we take, who we take, what price we take it on at, because otherwise we're just going to get in a saturated market of overvalued stock that's not moving. So brilliant news that lots coming on. I would suggest it's a bit of a time to start having a real look at taking quality on rather than necessarily just quantity. But again, that's a matter of choice, isn't it?
Absolutely bang on. We always like to bring in the number of properties for sale at this point. And these are the stats. We only do this once a month, and we always do it on midnight of the previous month going into the new month. So there was 675,186 homes for sale in the UK, midnight of the 28th of Feb going into the 1st of March. And all the other yellow lines on this is the same point in time going back other years, so we're comparing apples with apples. Again, if you were to compare that with, say, the 22 figures, there's obviously a hell of a lot more stock, probably nearer 75% more. But again, those were exceptional years. To give you again an idea, that figure in 2008, when there was an oversupply, was between 1.2 and 1.4 million throughout that spring period. So just bear that in mind. Is there an oversupply of properties? Well, there is a full supply of almost the Goldilocks. Because Rob, if we have too little supply, which we did have in COVID, people don't put their houses on the market, do they?
No, that's right. So at least there's plenty of stock for people to move up market to, which I think you'll come on to later on. I think prices are starting to increase in the stock that's being put on the market. So people are starting to see properties that they can envisage themselves living in. There's lots of boards around, and lots of for sale boards around, and the more expensive stock seems to be coming to the market. So I'd suggest you're right that people are starting to say, actually, I found something I can potentially move into, so why don't I put mine on the market, which we haven't had for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, something that's just screaming at me slightly, and again, this is a week in isolation, but what we do is this, okay? I'm just going to show this over a number of graphs. We look at the number of properties that come on the market, which we've already done for listings, and this is the average price of a property coming on the market in week 9, 446. We've already said that, if you recall, earlier on in the graphs. However, the average price of a property that is actually selling, and this is the headline asking price of the property when she went sold the contract, was 358. Now, I will just say for the record, that doesn't mean that houses are coming on at 446 and selling at 358. What that's saying is higher priced properties are coming on the market and lower priced properties are selling. Okay, it's the percentage difference that we must always look at, and the average is 16 or 17% for the last 8 years. I'm slightly concerned of this 24, because we're now look the gap. I mean, if we look at what happened in so the orange line, what tends to happen is with the orange line of the properties that sell, as we go throughout the spring and into the summer, the average price of the properties that go sale agreed increase. So we can see here, and then we can see here. Then in the spring and the summer, it increases like it does there. Then she drops back down again of the average price properties. Meanwhile, what is interesting, Rob, and we've done this before on the show, This big jump here, and that is a mirror jump there, is in the first 2 weeks in September when everyone in London in the posh parts, which is W and SW postcodes, that increase is just an additional 5,000 posh homes coming on the market in SW and W. That is the difference that London makes. But this gap here is quite wide. And you're absolutely right, Rob, is that posher houses are coming on the market. That's what the evidence does. I mean, I get to look at all the regional stats as well. And again, all the regions, especially ones in the south, bigger, posher houses are coming on the market. But what we've got to be careful here is that there isn't a disconnect between the posh ones coming on and the cheaper ones selling. I don't know. Anyway, anything to add on that, or should we go to?
No, I think you're right. I mean, just where I live, in the little village that I live in, there's 5 on the market now that are 575 to 700, and they're sitting, but they're on the market. They weren't on the market before, so there's definitely a movement with more expensive stuff coming on. But hopefully, fingers crossed, that ignites further down the chain people with cheaper, I say cheaper, it sounds terrible, less expensive properties, who then think, I fancy buying that one, I'll put my house on the market. So hopefully that will kickstart.
The magic thing is, though, is that they don't go and overprice it because the other one's overpriced.
Exactly.
And again, that is a massive issue, ladies and gentlemen, is overvaluing. Can we just remind ourselves, okay? And I do genuinely believe this is the scourge of our industry, is overvaluing. So, in February, 54% of homes that left estate agents' books exchanged. The other 46 left unsold, withdrawn. So therefore, you have a flip of the coin chance of getting the property paid on. I mean, it's scary. I mean, this is another graph, and you can see here that yes, during the crazy years of 21 and 22, we had lots and lots of lovely exchanges. There's the yellows. But look, Rob, look at the growth of withdrawals. This is wasting everyone's time.
And there is no need to overvalue in the current market because there's enough stock coming on the market. There's enough stock hanging around. All we're doing is adding another property on the street at another too high price. So you're better off to get the price better, sell it, and work on the rest of them to move them down. So there's no need to overvalue because there's plenty of stock.
Yeah, but Rob, everyone, you're going to say, well, that's all right for you, Rob. You're in your ivory towers, running the big levers of power. I'm not there. You're not there at the door, on the sofa, battling away. I mean,
walk away from it. Walk away from it. Let it be on the market for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 12 weeks, and keep in contact with them.
Now you've hit the nail on the head. I think we make it really difficult for homeowners to come back to us because if they get agent A, B, and C out and C overvalues, the agent they go to at the end of the sole agency because they're pissed off, technical estate agency term, is agent D because they won't go back to A and B because they don't want to feel stupid. And do you think most estate agents are absolutely atrocious? Most, not all, at nurturing and giving them a reason to come back?
I think my experience is that there's very little nurturing either before you go out, and certainly not after you've been out. I think we've. I'm not talking about everybody, but too many think they've lost it, and therefore we throw our dollies out of pram. we get in a mardy about it and don't want to talk to the customer instead of accepting the customer's decision, whether it's right or wrong in our mind, and staying in touch with them and just a friendly little conversation every now and again, asking how they're getting on. We'll go a million miles into getting the instruction when it hasn't sold.
Yeah, and a big thing I teach my clients to do is a couple of hours a week. Just get yourself onto WhatsApp and then say, right, I lost that one. What are they buying? 3-bedroom semi. Let's just have a quick search of all the 3-bed semis that have come on the market in the last few weeks, and then text them. I know you were looking for a 3-bedroom semi in the XYZ estate. I saw this and thought of you, even if it's on the market with a competitor. You see, by giving them you said, yes, you should say how you doing, but then that's opening up. Oh, you're trying to chase my business. But if you're giving them info. That works. I think we're too guilty of not of the we don't like rejection as estate agents. It's the personality type who makes estate agents, and therefore we take it as a personal slight. When in reality, we should actually be owning up and okay, I've lost it, but I ain't lost it because you never lose it until you exchange, as my old
No,
area
no,
manager said.
no, no. And to be fair, we're in franchising, so you're in it for 5 to 10 years. So the customer will move again. The customer will
Hey,
use you in the future. So why would you not stay in touch?
and this is absolutely scary as hell because, I know you know, but some people watching it might not know, is that my daytime job is I'm a property statistician and I ghostwrite articles for on local property markets for agents to post. The point is, this is the interesting thing is that we do this exercise every single year where we look back in every location of the last 50 sales that have taken place in that town or city and actually worked out, man, we do this manually, although I'm sure we could probably do this with AI, but we'll do it manually. We work out for the last 50 sales, how long has that homeowner been in the property? And that can range from anywhere between 6 months and it's never been on the market in land registry eyes, which is 95. The scary thing, Rob, is this. That is not a linear line. Okay. So what you tend to find is sod all people move between years 0 and 3 or 4. You always get the odd one or two, but not many. You get the odd doer-upper that's been flipped. But there's a huge chunk of people, Rob, that move. And don't worry, no one's watching the show. So this is one for your franchisees. Again, no one watching the show. Don't worry. There's a massive chunk of people that move between years 4 and 7. Massive. To the point, Rob, where 50% of the sales in every location we do this every year. It doesn't matter where you are in the UK. Up to 50%, no, so 50% of the sales that take place have only been in the property up to 6 years and 18 weeks. And that gap in all around the UK is hardly any different. So some places
Yeah.
it's 6 years and probably a couple of weeks, and some it's 6 years and probably 30 or 40. But there's a massive chunk, and you are so right, Rob. In the fact is that we're sitting on loads of data in the archive, aren't we? But we're not using it. They're the ones that we should be coming. Anyway, get off my high horse. Ladies and gentlemen, before we switch the cameras on, should have seen Rob and myself. We were on such high horses that you needed one of them teleporters to get us off. Yeah. Anyway, come on. Let's get back to the price reduction.
Get back to the numbers.
Okay, price reductions. We are reducing 12% of the properties of our stock per month at the moment. Give you an idea, 23,648 properties were reduced with an average asking price of the ones that were reduced by 407,000. Anything on that, mate? Before? Oh, you can't see that, can you? I didn't do share screen.
No, you took it away. But my
Oh,
only
hey.
thought on that is probably I would suggest it probably isn't enough, but
1 in 8. Of
I'm
course.
sure I'm sure come quarter 2 that will start moving forwards when agents stop looking so much at what they're putting on and start managing more of what they've got.
What, you mean agents are actually working their stock? My God.
No, I think we're focused on front end activity at the moment, and we'll manage our stock in quarter 2. But it's time to definitely manage it. We've had conversations in our business where we need to work with what we've got, otherwise it's going to walk out the door.
Too right, too right. And again, remembering, ladies and gentlemen, we're only getting paid on 54% of the homes that we're actually listing, and we're not here for charity. Right. Okay, let's move on. Let's do sales. So, sales this week, 26,742. That's not bad. Similar, although what is interesting is for the last few weeks, 25 has been ahead of 24. So that we'll just have a quick check of that. So yeah, so for the last, to give you an idea, so this week, 26.7 versus last, and then in 24 was 26. So there's only 400 difference there. There was 2,000 difference, so 27.6 versus 25.4, so 2,000 difference, and that is this year being higher. So the week 7, there was 4,000 more. Hold on, 3,000 more sales this year than last year, and there were 1,600 more sales. No, 2,006. So there's been on average 2,000 more sales per month in 2025 up to last week compared to 24. However, this week we're almost the same. There you go. Shouldn't panic yet, should we?
No,
Just 1 week?
no. I think it's consistent. It's 4% of available stock selling a week. So
Yeah.
not fabulous,
Well,
but if you're not 4%, you what? Sorry.
there's the monthly figures. We're running a month in arrears. We're
Yeah,
running
so 16% is that roughly?
16%, bang on 16%.
Yeah, so 4% a week. 4% a week selling, which again, 16% a month. That's a lot of stock hanging around. That's not where I think we should be. We should be 20 plus, I would have thought.
And again,
If we're doing well.
Isn't it weird that we thought everything sold in the boom time?
Yeah.
When in reality, we were selling 30, no more than 30% of our stock a month.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right. Again, there's a little bit of negativity there, for the doom mongers amongst you, bless you. But the sales are down a bit. But again, as my mum says, a swallow doesn't make a spring. So let's just wait till we see that. And we're filming this on Tuesday the 11th. Interestingly, Rob, I know we talked about this before we switched the cameras on. The vast majority of sales take place towards the end of the week. So there's no point in me looking at the sales so early in the week, because otherwise I'll have a heart attack. But yeah, most of the sales take place on a Thursday and a Friday, because the stats follow through on a Friday and Saturday. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so gross sales, let's just pull this up. 16% ahead year to date on 24, 23,400 versus 200,000 there. And 25.5% ahead of 17, 18, and 19. So we are well ahead of 17, 18, and 19. The average price of the property coming on selling is 358. Done all this. Anything on that before we move over to fall throughs?
Other than when you look at the stock availability back 17, 18, 19, we've got more now. I still think we're not selling enough of what we've got. I think that would be not the concern, because the stock's there, which is brilliant. Stock's there, it's great, isn't it? That was always a problem. I just think, there's a lot of work to do on getting what we've got on shifted.
Fall throughs this week, we're on 6,500. Looks like the graph just needs to be updated, so it'll be coming up there. Fall through rate is at 25%, so we've just seen a slight uplift there. And as I said, the percentage of sales falling through in the month is at bang on 5.8% of your sales stock fell through last month. Yeah, we had an uplift in fall throughs this week. But again, as I said, one spring doesn't make a summer. So, sorry, that's what I'm meant to talk about. God, I'm talking some rubbish today. One swallow doesn't make a spring or a summer, whatever it is. I'll tell you what, I'll get back to the stats. I can't be doing with phrases.
Yeah.
Anything on that before we move to net sales?
Bit worrying on fall throughs, but again, I think there's a lot of choice. So the conversations we're having is all to do with just making sure the buyer's committed moving forwards. If there's that much choice on the market, just check out what else they've been viewing, check out what else they've been offering. And I know I'm teaching people to suck eggs, but the more you know about your buyer and the more you get them committed, and it's definitely the house for them 100%, and they're not viewing others and offering on elsewhere, then we should manage the consolations a bit tighter.
Absolutely right. It absolutely scares me that we don't get solicitors involved on listing, so we can start getting the pack together. And again, and reservation agreements when we do actually get a sale agreed. And I'm telling you here and now, the valuers and bosses, if you're not doing either of those, then I'm sorry, you deserve what you get. And I'm sorry to be blunt as that, but you don't have to wait for the Law Society or the government to change the rules. And if you're worried that you'll lose listings because of having to instruct solicitors or get a reservation agreements, it all comes down to your mindset and the way you sell it. And if you can sell it in the right way, they are both magic silver bullets. Reservation agreements will get your fall throughs down to single digits. And whilst I don't have this official stats, I'm aware of some stats that are being done in the background by some big estate agency chains. Those that instruct the solicitors before on listings, again, their sales through weeks and weeks in advance, and their fall through rates are a hell of a lot lower.
Everybody's just more pre-prepared, aren't they? And if the buyers are pre-prepared, if the vendor's pre-prepared, you've got more engaged people.
The magic thing is that we estate agents are the gatekeepers, and if you do it in the right way and sell it to, estate agents, we're there to not put the house on the market. We're there to put the house on the market to get it sold. And if you see that as a barrier to getting the listing, then I'm sorry, you're a lister. You're not an estate agent, because your job is to get a listing. Your job is to get the listing, to get the bloody house sold, to get the homeowner moved to the next chapter of their life, not to rub your ego up because you've got the listing and sod the rest. And again, don't even get me talking about valuers doing their own vendor management. Anyway, let's move on. Net sales, again, ladies and gentlemen, because we've had a slightly higher month on fall-throughs, we've had a slight dip on net sales to around the 20,000 mark. We'll just remind ourselves, there we go. But we are still 13% higher than we are than 2024. That was 15% the week before and 17% the week before that. Reason is we did start a little bit later this year on our week on net sales, so doesn't concern me too much that that's dropping. It's where I'll be interested to know where she levels out on that. Anything?
I think just going back on that, I do think we need to be a bit more careful that gross is for show. That's just being mindful, because it's starting to feel a little bit like that with the volume that's coming on the market, the volume that's available, the volume that's gross selling. We can all jump up and down on gross numbers, can't we? But it's what we net sell and exchange on that pays the bills.
Certainly right. You're so right. Couple of extra graphs here for those of you that like your geeky graphs. Gross sales as a percentage of listings and price changes as a percentage of listings. Couple of extra graphs. In fact, we had a fan of the show contact us on YouTube saying we missed a few graphs out last week. So for you, these are some extra graphs here. The red line is the number of exchanges. The yellow line are the number of withdrawals. I will just state for the record is that we always revise those because on the 1st of March, we do have the Fed figures, but they're not up to date. So we go back and update them always for 2 or 3 months. So that is a living document. But again, that is raw numbers. We've already seen this. This is all properties leaving your books. What percentage of them did you get paid on, i.e. exchange and completions? And as I said, look at it. It's a flip of a coin here, guys. I mean, interesting. This is Rob. I tell you what, I posted on LinkedIn 2 days ago. What percentage of what's your chances of getting an exchange, moving home, if you put your house on the market in the UK? We all know, those that watch the show, it's 53, 54%, depending on the time of the year. And that's been like that for a couple of years. Scary, mate. Nearly 6 in 10 on LinkedIn, and most of the people I connected up with are estate agents. 6 in 10 thought it was 60% or higher. Because I gave them 54, 64, 74, 84.
But again, I think that's some people just looking at the gross side of it, which isn't.
Didn't even say it. Your chances of sale, i.e., exchange and completion.
Yeah. But then therein lies the question that we're having with some at the moment is when you look at customer service, what is good customer service from an estate agent? Is it talking to the vendor, being nice to them all the time, giving them lots of information, giving them good feedback, communicating regularly with them, and not selling the house? Or is it selling the house? Have we given good customer service to fight the fact that we haven't sold the house?
That's a great question.
We used to be more obsessed by customer service is selling the house for them because that's what they've employed you to do. So if you haven't sold the house, have you really given good customer service? Because they've employed you to do something that you haven't done.
That's a great question. Put your comments, ladies and gentlemen. If you had a chance, a 75% chance of selling, and with a decent price, but the feedback was crap and the service was okay, versus 54% chance of selling, but you've had lots of phone calls and lots of empathy. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Okay, extra couple of graphs here. I like that question. I like it a lot. I'm gonna have a play with that on.
Watch that. Watch out for that on LinkedIn and social media, eh?
Oh, mate. I mean, the last thing we need is more Watkin posts on social. Right. Okay. This is an interesting one. This is the proportional split between sales and your sales pipeline and your stock levels. That's raw numbers. Okay. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, all these graphs can be downloaded. They're not to be used on social media because my fee-paying clients who I write local content, some of them do like to use this themselves on social. So it's not fair if you're not paying for them not to use them. But I don't mind you use them in the house and showing vendors that you know what you're talking about in the property market. And do remember, ladies and gentlemen, 36% of homeowners chose their estate agent based on that agent's local property market knowledge. If all you're doing is banging out listings on social media, which most of you are doing, that's not proving local knowledge. Oh, and that survey was of 10,000 vendors, so by the Property Academy. So it wasn't a small thing. We've already done the number of properties for sale here. Agents pipeline. I mean, it's a decent pipeline at 451, but when it's taking, I don't know about you, but I think the average pipeline turnover is about 2.4, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah.
You're going to convert. I mean,
Yeah.
you remember the good old days when you had hair and I had dark hair, mate? That we were pumping stuff through 4 times a year.
Yeah, that's what you used to budget for 4 times a
Four
year, and
times a
sometimes you
year.
used to exceed it. Yeah. And that's when you used to have to photocopy mortgage applications and post them to the lenders.
4 times a year.
Yeah.
And that wasn't many, that was 20 years ago. Okay, 25. But I again find it fascinating that
Lots of work. Lots of work, Chris, for not enough income because we don't charge enough and we don't get enough through, as
oh
your stats say.
oh I mean when the average fee is 1%, scary as hell. Um okay, this particular graph is really important for those of you that like to foretell the property market. This is the pound per square foot at listing, which is the red line. The orange line, the pound per square foot at sale agreed, and the bluey green line, the pound per square foot at exchanged. That orange line, the sale agreed figure, matches the land registry changes almost perfectly, 92% on the Pearson correlation coefficient. Oh, I said it. I'm so proud of myself. That matches the land registry. So if you want to know what's happening in the property market, follow that orange line. And you can see here, it's been pretty stagnant since 22. We have a good few months and it drops. We have a good few months and it drops. And we're on a slight upward trend here, but nothing fantastic. I think we're on about an average annual growth of around 3 or 4%, which interestingly, if you take inflation off, means the house prices are over 10% cheaper today than they were 2 or 3 years ago in real spending time. Oh, and before anyone says, real wages are actually higher than they were a few years ago as well. And if anyone's interested in those stats, they're all on LinkedIn. And if you still can't find them, give me a shout. Anything on that, my friend, before we go to Braintree?
No, I think we've said it enough. Is just be wary that gross is for show, and banking's the dough. So
I'm having that one too. Right, you're dropping out the one-liners like Billy today, mate. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Right. Okay. Without further ado, let us go to Braintree. Okay, for those of you who have not watched this part of the show before, we are using a piece of kit called Insight. Insight is a bit of kit from the firm 20EA. 20EA have a number of different platforms called different things. This particular one is called Insight. For the record, 20EA do not pay me to highlight this bit of kit. However, they do give it to me free of charge to enable me to use the data for both the first part of the show and obviously this part of the show to show you. This bit of kit is available free of charge to estate agents on a limited basis over the time frame that you can look back on is quite limited. There also is a paid for version. where you can have up to 10 postcodes, and then there is a regional, and then there is a national one. I'm not getting involved with the costings because I'm not on commission or being paid. However, I should be, because a lot of people do buy it from after watching this show. I personally believe it is the most amazing bit of property data that you can look at to analyze your performance as a estate agent. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rightmove Plus on steroids with two Saturn V strapped to the bottom of it with lasers and glitter balls. This is truly amazing. Most of the big firms and regional firms have this bit of kit. So if you're part of a large network, do ask your area manager for access to the data that's in here. And this really does analyze which estate agents are putting trees up, who are good and who need to improve. Without further ado, Rob, should we go and have a look at the stats?
Yeah, let's get in.
Let's rock and roll, mate. Okay, so for the purposes, we are looking at Braintree, and just so that we're aware, the postcode districts that we're looking at is CM7 and CM77. I fully appreciate that there might be some properties on the neighbouring neighbourhood postcode districts, but those are not core Braintree, so therefore we're staying with those two and those two alone. The way this works, ladies and gentlemen, is I rabbit on, and then if the wonderful Rob spots something that he does, he just jumps in, and we just generally have a conversation. So without further ado, if you're a Braintree agent, you're going to want to watch this, and if you're an agent suffering from overvaluing or poor service from your competitors, then have a look at how this bit of kit works. It is truly amazing. So we are looking at 5 years plus the year we're in. So therefore, this goes back to the 1st of January 2020. We're looking at new instructions. We're not looking at new home build because that tends to skew the figures. And the first thing we're going to look at is market share for new instructions. So in the last 5 and a bit years, 9,699 properties have come onto the market in Braintree with an average price of 392,000. The average pound per square foot is 365. So what we're going to do now, we're going to analyze this in a couple of ways. Number one, we're going to look at now, then we're going to look at the last 12 months to see if there's any new baby agents that are seen to be going up the track. And then we'll also look at the posh end as well, just to see if there's any agents that are pulling any trees up in Braintree. So Branox Estates. So their average price is 392. Their average price is 391, so almost identical. That's telling me, Rob, that their market share is drifting downward slightly. Would you say that?
Yeah, marginally.
I mean, not massively. It's gone from
No,
around
still got a good chunk. It's peaks and troughs, isn't it? But if you look at where they were 5 years ago at nearly 10%, then they're not a million miles away now. But
okay,
very,
a slight
very
drift
up and down.
downwards of a couple of percent. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, let's go and look at Beresfords. My understanding is Beresfords are a regional estate agency chain of around 10-ish branches. Okay, let's have a look at those. So
there's the difference then. One's gone slightly down and the other one's gone slightly up.
So it looks like the change affected in 22. You've grown since. So there you go, an average of around 6 or 7. You grew to around 12. A slight drifting downwards in 24. Nothing massive, but again, we're looking at trends here. Let's go and look at William H. Brown, who are part of the Connell Sequence Group. It takes a second for it to come through, ladies and gentlemen. Do apologise. So here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we've got the classic Connell Sequence Boxing Day spikes. There we go.
Yeah.
There. So you always get that. There we go. There's the spike again. So again, something that most of the Connell Sequence groups do. They put their properties on the market. And if you actually look, the net effect is that quite often they have a poor January for listings because they get everything in, because a lot of agents hold them for Jan the 1st. The net effect, ladies and gentlemen, is that actually brings them in business. The net effect, even though they are poor at either months, either side, for listings overall, it does actually bring more people in. So, we could all F and blind about the Boxing Day promotion, but if it gets you more listings, it doesn't matter, does it? Or does it?
It's all about the stats, isn't it? More people are looking that week than most other weeks, so people will see you.
Okay, let's move on. Michael's Property Consultants. Well, nice and steady, but it looks like you've had slight growth since 22. Not much growth, but you're going in the right direction. Let's go and look at heart. Okay, that's heart, nice and steady, bouncing between 5 and 10. Kings, bit more spiky. The lower you go down, the more spiky it's going to be. But that is particularly spiky. Looks like you have a good month, bad month, good month, bad month. EXP. So it looks like EXP here.
Backwards.
Um. Okay. Well, again, slight drifting downwards. But again,
Not in the last few years, though.
But what I would say is this: at least they haven't got staff and branch to pay for, so that's not bad.
Very true.
Hamilton Piers, slight drifting downwards and then leveling off. Connells, okay. Lots of little agents taking. There's not one big. Last week the big 3 or 4 agents took over 50% of the market. Here, they're probably only taking a third. This is quite tight, isn't it?
It's actually when you go down to 8th and they've still got nearly 6% of the market. That's quite unusual, isn't it? Normally, like you say, the top 3 are quite significantly away, and then it drifts down quite substantially after 5.
I mean, I don't recognise some of these names as Braintree agents. I suspect that there's little nibble. Whilst some Braintree agents go out of CM7 and 77 to go nibble at other postcode districts, I suspect there's some agents here from other bits. So you've got Bishop Stortford and Stansted one end, you've got Chelmsford from the other. I reckon they're nibbling away at them, actually. Interesting. Right, we'll just have a quick look. There we go. Let's just have a quick look in the last year, just to see if there's anything anyone new agents that are pulling any trees up. This is since Jan the 1st, 24. No, Hamilton Piers. Hamilton Piers seems to be pulling a few trees up. Bear that in mind. Well done, guys. That's what we like to see. Okay, let's go back and just see at the upper quartile. I don't believe there's going to be a massive upper quartile in Braintree. Let's have a look. Price band. There we go. But isn't that interesting that here we go. Look, just over. You've got to go 600 plus to be in literally the 10 top
12%, isn't it?
Yes, so it just shows you Braintree's damn good value for money, because you wouldn't expect, if that was in Sawbridgeworth, which is literally 20 minutes down the road, you could add an extra couple of £100 on that bad boy.
Yeah.
So also some good value for money. Anything on that before we go and look at the rest of the stats?
No.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the next screen. Now there's some pure gold in here, absolute pure gold, and we're going to be looking at, now most agents will be looking at these columns here: new instructions, new instruction market sale, sold subject to contract, and sold subject to contract percentage. The real gold is in these 4 columns here. If you recall watching the earlier part of the show, we talked about, Rob particularly, about we're paid to get the house sold, and we only get paid when we do sell it, actually, as in exchange and complete. And if you add up your exchange percentage and your withdrawn percentage on every single row, they all add up to 100%, because those are the only 2 reasons why a property will leave an estate agent's books. The average in the last 2 years is 46.69, which is lower than the national average, as I would expect, because you're near London. I mean, in London, that's 33% in inner London. And then if you go to Scotland, it's knocking on the door of early 70s. But 46 sounds about right for that part of the world. So you've got Beresford's at 44. You've got William H. Brown at 47. Michael's at 56. Huge well done to Brancos. Brancos, is that how you pronounce it? Brangox? Anyway, my apologies if you're from there. 68. I mean, that is really, really good stuff. And
that's very strong.
And then everyone else tends to level off in the 40s and 50s. So the thing that's screaming at Brannocks is the fact is that they exchange contracts, i.e. get 68.4% of homes moved, homeowners. I mean, those are really, really, really good figures. And They were number one agent. They were number one agent.
On completions?
No, they were number one agent, if you recall. Let's go back.
Was it on new instructions or was it on completions?
Hold on. This is new instructions. Hold on. Let's just do that. Let's just have a look. So Brannock's, their market share for listings is dropping. Let's have a look at their sales. Again, if there's a doubt, that is not so bad. So basically, what
They're
that's
selling 80%. Is that gross sales or is that their
that's
exchanges?
gross sales. Let's look at exchanges. And remember, this is the percentage of exchanges in not their exchanges, the percentage of all the exchanges that are in the town. So basically, what that's telling me is this: it looks like Brannock's have reduced the number of listings that they're taking on, but the ones that they are taking on,
They're selling.
they're selling.
They're listed. I think that was a listing something like 980. They're selling 700. They're completing on 716. They are doing exactly what we've just had a conversation about in the last slideshow. They're not grossing for show. They're picking and choosing what they put on the market, I would guess.
And again, this is where we as agents, I mean, I teach my clients because my job is to help estate and letting agents grow their businesses. As Rob rightly says, is that we sometimes get too het up on losing the listing when in reality our job is that we're in business. We're not a charity, are we?
No,
We're not here. This is not my line, but a friend of mine says that state agency sometimes feels like Tinder for ugly people. I didn't go to bed with her, but at least they like me. And then we're not here to be liked.
when you look at his numbers or their numbers, her numbers, whoever it is, the 352 is 90 instructions less in that period.
Yep.
Yeah, than the top agent. So that's a huge cost saving of not putting 90 on the market and doing premium listings and vendor care and viewings and staff going out doing viewings and everything else that goes with it. Yet they've sold 35 more. They've sold nearly 20% more than the agent who listed the most. So who's the genius here? The one that whacks them all on and doesn't sell them and spends a load of time, effort and bad customer service, or the one that actually decides to do a proper job with somebody and gets them moved?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can see why we get him back every couple of months. He is dropping truth bombs like video. Excellent news. Well, so again, just have a look at yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and how you compare with your competitors. We'll just have a quick look at the fall through rates. The average is 27% in the last 2 years. Is there anything that's quite high here? Not particularly. But just compare yourselves on your fall through rates compared to the town average and your price changes. You see again, 45.39% of homes are being reduced. That is quite high. I would expect that slightly to be a little bit less. So you are reducing nearly one in two houses. Let's move on. Anything on that before we go and look at the overvaluing? Right, let's move on. Okay, so what we've got here, ladies and gentlemen, is the new instructions numbers. That's just there so we can judge who are the big agents or not. This is totally irrelevant to the next section that we're going to talk about. Okay, so in the last 2 years, 20EA have looked at all of your exchanges. Okay, and I just have to go a bit slower on this one because there's a lot of numbers on here and a lot of people do get it tongue-tied on this. Right, so here we go. 20EA have looked at all of your exchanges in the last 2 years. When you put that house on the market, 20EA already had what was called an automated valuation model, an AVM, a bit like a Val-Pal figure, others are available, and judged you what you put that house on the market for versus what it thought it was worth at the time of listing. Okay, and on average, Beresfords are putting the houses on the market for 1.52% above what the house is on the market, what they think the house is for. The average is 1.78. Nice and tight there, actually, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sensible.
Yeah. Okay. So on average, what have we got? So 1.68. Brannock's 2.43. You can see this. So there's no huge big lumps there. The next graph here, the next column here looks at From the original asking price, what percentage did you get? On average, Beresford's knocked on average 6.01% off the original asking price. William H. Brown at 3.32 and Michael's. Now, isn't it interesting what you said that Beresford appeared to be, they're growing their market share, but the prices they're achieving for them are not as strong as others in the town, are they?
No.
We're not
The,
criticizing.
the challenge goes, Chris, and I understand the model because I've worked within a similar type. Is if you go for gross, it's a challenge to keep on top of everybody and do as good a job as you possibly can. It just becomes difficult. Let's be totally honest. It is the more you put on, the harder it is to do a great job and get a great price. But likewise, there's a level that says I can't afford not to put a certain amount on. I get that.
I mean, isn't it interesting? So the issue with percentages, and remember, these are only the ones that have gone through to exchange of contracts. The houses that you put on the market that you overvalued that didn't sell are not in these numbers here. Now, interestingly, I do have something out with 20A at the moment. They're actually analysing what was the overvaluing stats on the houses that failed to exchange. When when that data comes out, which does take a few weeks to get, I'll analyse it and I will share it with the industry on my LinkedIn profile. Okay, problem with percentages is that a lot of people don't understand them particularly well, or it's quite hard to work out. So basically, what 20A do is this: if everyone put on a standard £450,000 house, what would you achieve for it? And you can see as you go down here, there's quite a mix here. So Hamilton Piers, whilst they overvalue, then this is interesting. Look, they're only valuing at 1.06 over the original. Sorry, start again. Pardon me. Hamilton Piers overvalued by 1.06. However, they only get knocked down by 0.76, which means if you're looking for a top 10 agent in Braintree, the agent that will get you the most, according to these 20EA data, is Hamilton Piers at 451. But look at the range here on the different prices that 20EA think each agent will get. I mean, this is not £1,000 or £2,000 here, is it? This is many, many thousands of pounds.
It puts it into perspective when everyone's fighting over another few £100 on your fee as well. When I get you more for your property, why are we arguing about a few £100 on my fee?
And here's the proof. So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, why I was raving particularly about this package. This is independent third-party data that shows if you are doing a damn good job for your homeowners, you can prove it. Right, let's move on. Let's see which agents seem to be selling the houses quickest. So, the top 10 agents, Brancos are selling their houses within 75 days. The average is 68 days here. From new instruction to sale agreed, 68 days. That's 2024. In 23, it was 65 days. So not a massive amount of difference. That's quite strange. Normally bigger difference between 23 and 24. Next, let's look at Beresfords. Beresfords are taking 80 days. And Hamilton Piers 55 days. So you can see the blue line there shows you the number of days that it takes for you to get a buyer. Then the pinky line shows you how long your sales progression is taking. So from the top 10 agents, Beresfords are at number one. They're taking on average 207 days from putting the house on the market to moving. Remembering that, just for the benefit, Beresfords have a 44.7% one chance of shifting the house, whilst Hart, they're taking 180 days, which is 27 days or 3 weeks quicker, and decent price, and exchange of 50.4%. So you can see that how this data can show that you are a better agent or an agent that needs to improve. I'm not criticizing, ladies and gentlemen. We're just highlighting the different agents and how well or well not, as the case they perform. You'll never get an agent with top trumps with everything awesome can't be beaten. There's always going to be places you can improve on, isn't there? Even Even an agency run by you, Rob, would always have. We've always got room for improvement, haven't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything on this before we go and look at lettings data?
No, no.
All right. Okay. So we're starting off, we're looking at the last 2 years, the 11th of March 23 to 25, looking at as I said, the lettings data. Actually, I'll tell you what I might do. I'm not going to look at that data because there's a better graph that we should do this one. Here we are. Let's look at the last 5 years. Okay. This is a much better graph. I clicked on the wrong one. Okay, let's have a look. Here we go. So this is new listings, which has a direct relationship to what your stock levels are. So if you're having more, if you're greater stock, your tenants are handing their notice in more often. So let's have a look. Beresfords, a slight drifting downwards, but again, just remind ourselves, open rent, that's interesting. Open rent are only at around 10%. Yeah. Nationally, they've gone from 5% to about 18%. So it looks like whilst open rent have got a foot in the door in Braintree, not as much as the rest of the UK. Okay, let's look at William H. Brown.
Definitely creeping up though.
Yeah, definitely creeping up, mate, aren't they? This is the biggest killer of letting agency. You know, nationally, last year, open rent took 16-17% of the market. I can't remember, I've got the exact figures, but half of those had been on the market previously, the last time the property came up for rent, with a high street agent. Scary. Forget purple bricks. This is open rent's the killer of lettings. I think I've just done some videos, ladies and gentlemen. If you type in renters right bill, I've got Suzanne Smith and I've got a David Smith video coming out, who is considered the guru. Mate, that is an hour and 40 minutes with every question I've asked him about the renters right bill. It is a massive opportunity for letting agents to attract landlords back to them. Massive opportunity. Right, okay, let's go back. William H. Brown, Brunnocks, Hart, King's Property, it's growing, Intercounty. Don't think that's a slight drift downwards. Leaders, Boydens, Bartlett Hammond, Gray and Co. So nice, yeah. We'll just go down to Fenwright. Interesting. Michael's property consultant's not too strong on the lettings there. So, okay, right. Let us give us your final thoughts, mate.
On that was quite an even spread in the top 5 or 6 agents. So there's scope for people to grow their market share, definitely, and start an upward trend, because there's a lot of transaction going on, and it's a bit of an even playing field between the top 5. I get the main agents out there a bit, but actually, if you're in that town, there's a lot to go at, and there's a lot to go at from everybody. Whereas in lots of places we look at, the top 3 are pretty dominant, and then it's a bit of a bun fight for everybody else. So actually, I'd suggest there's decent agents in town, but there's plenty for people. There's plenty of growth opportunities for the agents who want to really go at it.
And your final words with regard to all UK and estate agents. We're now in week 10, so the show will be coming out week afterwards. What's your final thoughts to all the agents? Share with us your thoughts.
We just got to be more sensible about what we put, the price we put properties on the market for, because there's a lot of stock. There's lots on the street. There's lots of competition, so there's no point in putting one on more expensive than the one down the road. Yeah, even at the same price, it's a bit of a challenge to shift it if that hasn't sold. So be a bit more sensible at what we're valuing it at. Be all over stock management, because they will disappear. They will walk out the door come after Easter. So stock management, vendor care, price reductions is key. Working with the ones that are gonna work with you, and then just remember, it's about getting the property to exchange and completion, and therefore that is finding the right buyer for it and making sure the buyer isn't walking out the door in a few weeks' time because they found another one. Commit them in, get them using solicitors early, buckle them in. We used to say the faster you buckle them into your seatbelt, and the faster you start, the less likely they're going to jump out. So actually, let's get everything going quickly at the beginning, both from a vendor and a seller perspective. Commit the buyer, use good quality solicitors and get them to completion.
Absolutely bang on there, mate.
Easy, doesn't it? Sounds easy.
Yeah, like everything in life. Thank you for your time today, Rob. More importantly, thank you for watching the show. All the graphs are available to download on the YouTube in the write-up section. You can download them for your personal use and at valuations. We'll see you next week for week 10 of the UK Property Market Stats Show with another guest, Rob. Love to have you back in a few months' time when the sun's out a bit more, and we can look at the property market later in the year. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.